Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Hello there, Glenn.
What's up, Mikey? It's great to be in the coffee shop with you again and again.
You know, it's great to be in the coffee shop. I love, one thing struck me this week. We get a lot of feedback thanks to your work on social media and emails.
Oh, that kind of feedback. I thought you meant like reverberation or whatever the word is.
Like Jimi Hendrix on a guitar. Yeah, right?
Okay, you're talking about that kind of feedback.
Okay, yeah. No, but we get some really good stuff. And you know what really struck me this week? I feel, and we haven't developed it, right? But I feel like we're a bit of a community, right? I mean, we get, what would you say, maybe, I don't know, half a dozen messages? How many messages? We get messages, they'll go in leaps and bounds, but we get, I feel like we have a community here, but we're like disparate because we don't really get together at one time. But I guess we do. It's just whenever, the listener decides to pop on.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's in many ways, it seems like it's a one-way community or relationship.
But it's not.
Well, we're putting it out there, right?
Right.
We were at a picnic recently this past summer where somebody traveled just to say hi, and I'm like, really? like I thought that was cool, And no, we do have emailed our show's email is podcast@sober.coffee. No, that's not sober.coffee.com.
No. We're cooler than that.
Yeah, I hope we're way past that.
Yeah, we're cooler than that.
Sober.coffee. And we love hearing from folks, and they're all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how people across this world listen to us.
Right. The other thing I might encourage listeners to do is on the website, Sober.Coffee, is an email. You can leave your email address. And for a newsletter, which we've never sent anything out, but we got people that are. But it's there.
Sign up for it, man.
But sign up for
just
it.
In case.
Yeah, at least you're not going to get inundated with stuff from me.
That's awesome. I know that's awesome.
But speaking of community, I have a guest with us today, and I'm super excited. Yeah, super excited to have Danny with us. Danny is with Aspen Ridge Recovery out in Colorado, and. We came across him as one of our listening partners, and they listen to us, and they're doing some really, really cool stuff out there. And we started talking about how we might be able to utilize Danny's experience and background in this kind of in recovery. And we thought, wow, we don't know where it's going to go, but let's get this guy on. Now it was hard getting him on because, he's like a new father and stuff like that. So he's got feedings and diaper changing.
Come on, Danny, where's your priorities?
Yeah, I know, right? But we cornered him at a late hour live from Colorado. So, hey, Danny, welcome.
Thank you,
welcome,
guys.
brother.
I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with you guys tonight.
Yeah, I really appreciate you here. So if you get a chance, I'll and Aspen Ridge isn't sponsoring us, but go check out their website. And I have some conversation starters that I kind of pulled from their website that really jumped out at me. Your founder talks about 3 elements of recovery that they find very important, and that's heart, community, and therapy. What's your take on that, Danny? Well, how important are those elements to recovery?
Well, so I'd be a pretty bad therapist if I didn't say therapy was a key element to recovery.
Right.
So I'll shamelessly put that plug in that obviously I'm a big believer in the therapeutic process. And I'd even broaden what he says, honestly, right? If we're talking about art, community, and therapy, and I think those are just 3 great things for humans to engage in. I'm not saying like all humans should be in therapy all the time, but I think that the human condition is one that wants to improve itself. And I think that's so much of what recovery is about as well. is we look at where we are in a point in place in time. And right, we hear the term very regularly in recovery of my rock bottom, right? And then it's like, how do I progress from there? How do I grow? How do I evolve? And I think that one, that heart, right, in terms of what's your drive, what are your motivators, external as well as obviously the importance of that internal motivator for you. And in terms of community, we're social creatures. And as much, and like introverts will try to fight me on this all the time. I'm an introvert. I don't care how introverted you are. You are a social creature. You might need your recharge time, and I respect that and everything like that. But we need to acknowledge that we do our best work in community.
I love that. I love that a ton. I'm going to park on therapy for a second because I went to therapists, and I'm going to argue it was a tragic experience. Wait, hold on for the spoiler alert. Guess what? I wasn't honest with them until I went to a therapist that I was really honest with.
Of course you weren't.
I'm like, wow, this therapist is fantastic. And they were probably no better than the other ones that I had, but I was honest, and I went in with defined goals. I said, here's the thing. I'm going to be as honest as all out with you. Your job then is to uncover, help me through, process, so I don't ever drink or drug again. That's our relationship. So I'm going to say things to you. If you think that's going to be an element that's going to lead me back to drink or drug, that's your job to unpack it, reprocess it, pack it back up, put it away or deal with it or whatever you're going to tell me, whatever video you're going to tell me to watch. It was a beautiful experience. I am now a big evangelist of therapists, if you're honest.
And I'd have to agree, right? I tell clients all the time that, like, if you're coming to me to be a lie detector, wrong. It's the wrong intention. It's like absolutely the wrong intention. I don't perform any better than the average human in terms of detecting lies. And so, but if you come to me with what you want to work with, then we could do some really awesome work together. And I think, like, you hit the nail on the head, Mike, with the idea of, like, really treatment should be a collaborative effort. Like, someone shouldn't be coming to me and me telling them this is what you're going to do. That's a great way to have someone shut down. But a great way to have that therapeutic process to go is, what does success look like for you? Like, when you see, like, hey, I'm living the recovery that I want to live. I'm living the life that I want to live. What does that look like? And once we start identifying their goal and their picture of what that life looks like, really amazing stuff starts happening. I'm getting goosebumps. Glenn and I were talking about this morning. We were talking about, there's the old exercise. I don't know if it's old or Glenn's idea, but I'm going to assume it's old. Is that, to write your eulogy. What does your eulogy look like? And
I made that up.
Thank you, Glenn. That gives you a bit of a roadmap of what you'd like it to be.
Yeah, what we were trying to do, Danny, is just just some more concrete action steps, right? And so, we were talking about legacy, and I've been to some funerals lately, and it gets you thinking about legacy, right? Like, what do I want? What do I want to leave? I've never really thought of that before in my life, probably because A, I was younger and I thought I was going to live forever, or B, I was embarrassed, and I was ashamed of what people would say if I had passed away, and so what I was saying is that hey, a great exercise would be before you start working on the tools, write a starting eulogy, as if today, and then work through some steps, build some stuff. What do you want your legacy to be? Write an ending eulogy, and then what's the gap? What am I missing, and what do I need to work on? Right? I love the therapy part of this. Therapy is always, my therapist, I call him my coach. Man, he is full of tools. He just helps me read the label on my own jar, man, because it's hard for me to read sometimes. And he has helped me in so many ways. I love it.
Yeah. So you guys are, is it safe to say treatment center or treatment solution?
Yeah. Treatment centers.
Wait. So
totally
that's the
safe
one
to say.
treatment center in America that I have not been to?
We're the one.
I'm not
Hopefully-
coming.
He's not
Hopefully you
kidding.
don't need it, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm
I
not coming.
I don't want him there.
I'm done with that.
So I love this, and I hope I wasn't taking us off track with the writing the eulogy, because that's what I heard you say. It's a matter of being involved in your life and developing a plan that gets you kind of where you want to be in that collaborative effort, and that all happens in the right kind of treatment environment, the right kind of treatment center environment. But how do I know? Is that too extreme for me? How do I know that I'm a good candidate for treatment?
So, I mean, I think the first thing is for anyone who's sitting there asking themselves, like, do I have an issue with substances?
Mm-hmm.
That's a clue, right? Like, if you are asking that question once, like, there is a difference between what we know and understand about addiction and what happens in the brain there and substance abuse. And so, like, there is a difference, but we live, like, substance abuse could be equally dangerous,
Sure.
right? Like, I mean, in our world with fentanyl.
It's
like,
terrible right now. It's
Yeah,
terrible. Absolutely terrible.
exactly. So, I mean, we know that all of this is lining up for, like, people's lives, not to be dramatic, can absolutely be in danger. And so if you're asking yourself the question, is treatment right for me? Do I have an issue with substances? My biggest suggestion would be go talk to someone.
Right.
Talk, like, especially when we are in an active use cycle, whether that be on substance abuse or in active addiction, our brains we are creatures of phenomenal adaptation, and sometimes that's to our detriment. And so our brain isn't actually great at answering that question for ourselves. And so getting that opportunity, like Glenn was saying, of like, hey, help me read the label. Because it's not necessarily going to be clear. Your brain is going to start rationalizing things. It's going to start doing things like, okay, well, if I have a substance use issue, that means that everyone I'm surrounded by has a substance use issue. So like, how could I really have it? And that's really not the best determining factor. One, very possible. Like, maybe they all do have substance use issues for people that are around you. And two, it might not have the same impact, right? We're not all the same. So how one person uses it, really, we can't just compare like that.
Right.
And so my thought is, if you're having that question, go talk to someone. Ideally a professional, but even if it's like, you know what, I don't really feel comfortable talking to a professional yet, find that person in your life that you trust. And when I say trust, not that you trust to tell you what you want to hear, but that you trust to tell you whatever you need to hear.
Right. You know,
Sometimes those people are hard to find.
They are hard to find. I had a doctor. The first thing I did, I'm told, one of the first things we did when I realized that when I'd given up, I'd surrendered, I'd hit that rock bottom you talk about, and I was there, and my wife said, "Well, we'll go talk to the doctor," and he's like, well, I don't know, I don't know. I guess treatment would be okay for you. I mean, I was killing myself. I was physically, emotionally, mentally, but physically killing myself. I was in a bad place. And so that wasn't the person. But now I have a doctor. Oh, by the way, I'm really honest with him. So when he says, how much do you drink? I wasn't a social drinker. No, I drank this. This is what so.
Well, and like you bring up a great point, Mike, in the sense that the last that I looked, there is a very, very drastic lack of addiction medicine training amongst medical professionals, and it's definitely needed because it's a huge, huge thing. Like having medical professionals having good understanding of this is critical, honestly, and that's why when people do seek out that professional support, and like this will vary state by state. But finding those therapists, like in Colorado, it's called a licensed addictions counselor. So people who have this specialty in terms of like, okay, like this person really focuses and has devoted time to achieve mastery in this specific field. Right. And so like you could start narrowing it down by that. And like, once again, people are just in different places at different times. I mean, even if it's going and checking out a meeting. Right. Be surrounded by people who are either in successful recovery or maybe it's their first time and they're trying to figure this all out as well.
Right.
But going to a meeting and
Danny, there's really no excuse. I mean, we got this thing. It's probably just a fad, but it's called Google. And it's unbelievable what you can find on this right now. You know, it'll be gone tomorrow, but it's amazing what you can find. And like you said, you can narrow it down. I found a therapist that treated my mental as well as my abusive addiction history as a dual therapist. They were experiencing both of them. So it was almost like it was custom made for me. And that only took me a couple search filters through Google to find a dozen of them in my area. I mean, there's really no excuse for not finding a good therapist or a good treatment option or road to recovery for yourself.
Yeah. And like, there's a lot of options out there. And Psychology is a great site for narrowing that down too.
What is?
Psychology Today.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay. I'll put that in the resource room. It does a very
effective job with their filters.
Okay. Excellent. So I love this. I don't know where I found it, why I'm asking the question, but is abstinence really the only option, or is there help in control drinking?
Okay, so when you saw this, I was like, okay, is there help to control drinking, or like, are we asking if there's help or if there's hope?
Yes. Well, no. Wow, I like that. Let's unpack both of those. Is there help?
So there are harm reductive models out there. That people do engage with. In terms of like, if someone's asking the question, is there help out there for someone who's not going to tell me to stop drinking? Like, I would be a liar if I said no. There is help for that. In terms of,
can you give me their phone number? Just kidding.
So, and like,
does that work?
So this is where people want it to be a really simple answer, and it's not. So if people and everyone who may be struggling with addiction right now, what I'm about to say is their brain's gonna be like, well, then I want to be a substance abuser. I don't want to be someone struggling with addiction. I want to be a substance abuser. People who abuse substances, depending on what's going on with their brain chemistry, which once again, it's not like we could just scan it and like know exactly, like that's not happening regularly at treatment centers. But so someone who's like, maybe there's a college student who's going and binge drinking on the weekends and is out of control with that and makes really, really dumb decisions. In terms of like, can that person go back? Potentially. In terms of addiction and what we know about addiction, I want to say the latest numbers that I looked at were somewhere between 3 and 5% in terms of success rate for someone who wants to control their use. And so my words to people are like, is that really what you want to gamble? Like, I mean, right? You've come this far. You've come to say, okay, this is the help that I need. I'm looking, and we're talking about the ways in which this has been destructive in my life. And so generally the people who want to go back to it, what I first ask them is, I don't tell, like, because they start thinking about the rest of their lives. And I'm like, yeah, that's much too much time. We're not going to think about the rest of your life right now. What I'm going to ask from you is, can you commit with me that we're going to go 3 months sober? And then we're like, let's use that. And like, regardless of what you think you are in terms of like, I struggle with addiction versus I'm a substance abuser, regardless of where you fall on this spectrum, one, if you're like, I can't go 3 months without using, then it's pretty indicative of a problem.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's actually really good feedback right then and there. Two, what we start finding is people start experiencing quality of life improvements by being sober. And then we could get ourselves into a cost benefit analysis of like, okay, so let's see, when you were using, this is what your life looks like. When you're not using, this is what your life looks like. Now, I can't predict what your future is going to look like in terms of what you choose to do next.
But I like the trajectory.
Yeah, exactly. And so really, like, I don't get to control you. You tell me which path of life you're enjoying more.
That's that learning and growing together thing right there.
Exactly. Because ultimately, like, you guys probably know better than me, like, recovery does need to be your choice.
Right.
I can't force. I would, like, if I could. Oh man, I totally would. I would totally take away free will. I'd be like, all right, I'll do this. But I can't. I can't will it upon somebody.
Right.
And so, so by allowing people to see these differences in their lives, they come to the conclusion of it's not really feeling like it's worth the risk.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that. And I love the 90-day thing, because that was probably the one pivot that concerned me the most. How am I possibly going to do this for the rest of my life? As short as that may be, or as long as it may be, I couldn't imagine life without abuse, or without substance intake. I couldn't imagine it. And so the program I bought into told me, just worry about today, just get through today. And now all of a sudden I got these days piled up, and I don't even think about it. I mean, occasionally I'll think about it because it's habit, and it's thrown in my face socially, that it's all acceptable and it's the answer to a good time. But I love that. Just taking a chunk, taking a 90-day chunk. So I think you answered that one really good. And
I do. I'm sorry. I just want to throw out one more thing for any listeners out there. Because I do research this stuff all the time.
Right.
Time and time again, when I do look at it, harm reductive models do not perform as well in terms of quality of life improvement as abstinence, and that's what the research says.
Right.
So, not my opinion. I just think people should know that when they make their life choices.
Well, and hence the reason you're on the podcast today. You're a trained, recovering therapist, or what is your title anyway?
I'm the clinical director.
Okay.
At Aspen Ridge.
So, and I'm not. I'm not a clinical director of even my own life. So, it's good to have you on because this is a combination and a culmination of research and data and experience. And I just felt it was really good when we uncovered kind of what you guys got going on out there. I thought it was really worthwhile to get somebody on who could do that. So you guys primarily though are just servicing Colorado. You do some virtual stuff, but you're pretty much Colorado, right?
Yeah, essentially, yes.
Okay. So I would be, and just in case we get our time cut short, and I know Glenn's got some stuff, but how does somebody get a hold of Aspen Ridge?
So you talked about earlier, Google's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so you could easily find our number by just typing it in. There's going to be multiple options. And so we have, I believe, 3 admissions reps right now, all of whom are in recovery. Great guys to talk to and just talk about things with, and they'll help navigate that process with you and really make it a human experience.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So do you have virtual, you have inpatient, right? Or you have the normal, I'm not even sure if it's normal anymore, but you have inpatient treatment?
So do you mean in person?
In person, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're doing in-person services. We don't have a residential treatment though.
That's okay. So you don't have a 20-day, it's you have the IOP type of thing?
Yeah. So we have our PHP, we have IOP, and we have OP.
Okay.
And an alumni program, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the alumni programs. That's great. And do you guys do the 12 steps?
So we absolutely talk about the 12 steps. How could you not? They're so successful for so many people. And we also acknowledge that the 12 steps aren't for everyone. So we pitch all of them. We pitch, it's hard to say all of them because there's so many, but we do pitch 12 steps. We pitch Recovery Dharma. We pitch Smart Recovery. We talk about Phoenix Multi-Sport. There's Celebrate Recovery out there.
Sure.
Right? Really, we want to make sure that people know that for how different they may feel or how unique they may feel or how alone they may feel, whatever that may be, there's probably a recovery group out there that resonates with them.
Yeah, that's what our motto is pro-sobriety, right? I mean, Mikey and I went through 12 steps. We're in the 12 steps. We've benefited from 12 steps. But the one thing I want to point out about, abstinence is there was a period of time, probably 2000, before my first rehab in 2003, I went 5 months without having a drink. And so I abstained. I changed nothing else in my life, and I got zero benefit out of abstaining because I was still an asshole. You know, I still had all the other attributes. And what I really liked about counseling and therapy, working with my coach, the 12-step program, is they helped me understand characteristics. I'm trying to find the right technical treatment words. The characteristics of what I was doing and how I was living, and help me change to where, you know, I don't live a life that I need to escape from like I used to back then. And for those 5 months, I just grinned and bear it. And yeah, I was proud of myself, but nothing else changed. So it's really a combination of the therapy, treatment, groups. For me, for us, the 12 steps really helped change how I thought and looked at life. And then, you know, I found less and less over time. Hey, I don't have the obsession to drink because I don't need to. I got tools now, you know?
Yeah.
I think it just speaks so much to, right. There's been tons of studies with like rats, right? There's like Rat Park is
the Rat Park. I love the Rat Park.
Yeah. Right. So like,
I learned a lot from that.
It's an amazing study. And what we learn is like, oh yeah, if we change our environment, that matters. And like part of changing our environment is also part of how we interact with our environment. And so, yeah, like we hear it all the time with like the white knuckling of sobriety or the term dry drunk.
Oh, that's painful. Like, that's just painful. Right? What I learned about the Rat Park, that supports AA bowling. That's a business case for AA bowling.
Oh,
go to AA bowling.
Oh, Jiminy.
Sorry, Danny.
And that we got this great polished professional on and then you bring it back to AA bowling.
I know, I'm sorry, man. But I love the Rat Park. I've learned a lot from the Rat Park.
It's a great study.
Yeah.
Danny, thank you so much. Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
And I think more so than anything is, and so recovery is obviously complicated, and really there's a great Russell Brand quote that I'm going to get wrong, but he says something along the lines roughly of, there are many different paths to recovery as there are different types of addicts. And so recovery doesn't need to look the same as what you're seeing from every person. And so
I love
wherever you get some treatment, whomever you seek out to support you through your process, know that like it does, like, focus on what works. There's a lot of wisdom that people can share with you in terms of what has worked for them, and also know that it is simultaneously an individualized process. And there's hope for you.
I love that.
Oh, that's great, man.
I love that.
Thanks, Danny.
Danny, thank you so much from Aspen Ridge Recovery. We thank you so much. Come on again sometime.
I'd love to.
All right,
I'd love to. I really enjoyed this.
Hey, enjoy that baby.
I'll try to get some sleep.
Yeah. All right. See you, Danny. Thanks.
Take care, Danny.
Have a good one.
See you, Glenn.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.